thank everybody for the birthday wishes. I appreciate it. If you would like to send a gift, I will leave the Cash App in the comment section. I was about to say the description, but never mind. I'll put it in the comment section. So thanks everybody who wished me a happy birthday. I appreciate it. So I wanted to see what Triple H got for me as a gift for my good old birthday, and an episode of Smackdown that is quite notable, and I did get a gift. Wrestlemania is indeed saved because Kevin Owens will not be in it. April the 4th, 2025, Chicago, Illinois. And Chicago has decided they're going to pick up Europe's chance. But praise God, these guys ignored it. And they should have ignored it when they were overseas. But overseas, they were feeding into the stupid chants. Now they decided, well, we got to do this thing in record time. So we got to run over these guys as they try to chant. Except Charlotte. Charlotte, boy, she got bulldozed. She got kicked around. I can't wait to talk about that. But first, we're going to talk about CM Punk. CM Punk came out and he yapped for several minutes. And then Paul Heyman showed up, wanted to know what the favor was. Punk said he'll tell him when Roman Reigns shows up. So we waited until the end of the show when Roman Reigns finally appeared. By this point in time, Paul had already agreed to whatever CM Punk wanted to do. He just wanted to know what it was. But he agreed to it. Roman came out. He yapped for a little bit. Gave himself credit for CM Punk being in the main event. Then Seth Rollins came out. He yapped endlessly. Called CM Punk dangerous. But did not elaborate on why he's dangerous. I don't understand why Seth Rollins is in this feud. It really doesn't make any sense considering what the favor is. Roman Reigns said that Seth Rollins is untrustworthy and that he promised Paul Heyman to leave CM Punk alone. That's why CM Punk is here. CM Punk said that this is about loyalty and that Heyman refused to fire him even when WWE told him to. But since all the people who didn't like him are gone, he's now being reminded of what Paul said to him on the bus, where he says, you need to make them deal with us. Deal with us. He says, now, since those people are gone, I'm going to make you, Roman Reigns, deal with us. And then he says his favor is that Paul Heyman will be in his corner for the main event of WrestleMania. Roman laughed this off and told Paul to say no. Paul instead cried, wept even, and then said he can't do that. Roman was disgusted. He saved Paul. He's the reason Paul is still here. And Paul just continued to cry. And as Roman menaced Paul, Punk saved Paul by attacking Roman, hitting him with a GTS, which Roman took an amazing bump and did a great job of selling it. What amazing, by the way. Really good. Rollins and Punk stared off before Rollins just toddled away. So the big favor was for Punk to get Paul Heyman for his entrance at WrestleMania. Or to be in his corner. Which would have been fine if this was Punk versus Roman one-on-one. That would have been in a three-way feud with no title on the line. Just imagine if the belt was on the line for this match. If Roman had been champion for 4 years, or 5 years, or whatever, and he was defending the title against Punk, and the wise man was going to be in Punk's corner instead, think about how much better this story would be. As opposed to, it's a triple threat match with another hanger-on. That guy has nothing to do with this story, really. It had nothing to do with Heyman. It has nothing to do with Roman. It has nothing to do with Punk. I mean, you say he's feuded with those guys before, but yeah, he can feud with those guys some other time. This is about the main event of WrestleMania, the biggest match possible. I've said it 100 times. And now you've added the emotional weight of Paul Heyman being stuck in a tug of war that does not involve Seth Rollins. Why is he there? Why is he present? Outside of the fact that Triple H doesn't know what else to do with him. The favor is kind of mid, if I'm being honest. it doesn't really mean much of anything, especially in this circumstance, because again, it's a three-way feud. It's not just Punk and Heyman are siding against Roman. It's just not that. It's all these guys against Roman now. And it doesn't do any good because there's nothing to win or lose. If they were to do something where they would have said Punk versus Roman and the winner gets the services of Paul Heyman, that would have been infinitely better. But we can't even do that because guess what? Seth fucking Rollins is still there. So you can't even do that. I don't know, man. Look, they really built this thing up. The payoff was kind of weak. There was a lot of anticipation for it. There was a lot of chanting for it while Rollins was out there talking. But for me, it wasn't the worst idea. At least the seed had been planted for a long time that Punk did want Heyman on his side. But for me, it's kind of flat because, again, it's in the triple threat format. It all goes back to when you have really good dramas, you typically have an antagonist and a protagonist. When you have an antagonist and a protagonist in this situation, you don't really need a third party. Like, you don't need a middleman when it comes to this thing. They just get in the way. One of the chief elements of writing fiction and learning about fiction that I've had in my experience is to excise extra characters. That's one of the toughest things to do when you're writing fiction, because yes, you do have favorite characters, but sometimes you don't need them. Sometimes they don't really serve the story. Sometimes they're just in the way. In this story, if it was just Punk, Heyman, and Roman, this story would be so much tighter. It would also be a lot more personal, considering you can trade on the history between Punk and Roman, going all the way back to 10 years ago. And then you can go back even further by saying, as people on the internet have noted, that Paul Heyman promised Punk that when Punk main evented WrestleMania, that Paul Heyman would walk him to the ring. I mean, damn it, you don't need Seth Rollins there for this story. I am so beating a dead horse, but that horse needs to be beat. Because I feel like I'm the only one saying it. It needs to be said. Somebody need to amplify my voice. Anyway, it is what it is. I think the favor is kind of weak. It would be stronger if Roman was the champion going into this one-on-one big fight. But as it is right now, it's whatever. It's fine. All right, Rey Phoenix had his debut on this show, and they tried to kill each other because he wrestled Nathan Frazer. A very weird first opponent for it to be babyface versus babyface. A speedy babyface at that. A guy who's going to go out there and try to match Rey Phoenix, which defeats the purpose of having a showcase match for Rey Phoenix, because he's supposed to be the guy going out there doing all the flips and crazy stuff. And then you put him out there with Nathan Frazer, who can do everything that he can do. Why would you do that? Anyway, Nathan Frazer damn near destroyed Rey Phoenix's knee by botching a tope suicida through the ropes. I mean, he landed right on his bread basket and crunched his knee. I looked at that and said, man, it would be just Phoenix's luck that he would destroy his goddamn knee in his first match. Well, he managed to not do that. But then later on, he gave Nathan Frazer a receipt when he picked him up from some kind of power driver-ish move. It wasn't a power driver, but it was kind of like some kind of driver. And he dropped Nathan Frazer right on his shoulder. And it looked like he's going to pop right out of socket. Jesus Christ, these guys tried to murder each other. They were running about in circles earlier. Nathan Frazer's just running the ropes. I mean, the excessive amount of running in these matches. My God, there's too much motion. For no reason, too much motion. In any event, Rey Phoenix wins with the Mexican Brainbuster, which, okay, it was an interesting move, and Frazer's small enough to do it on. So then, there that was. Afterwards, Phoenix said this is not just his debut. This is the rebirth of Phoenix. He's reborn with passion, reborn with fire. He says, I am WWE. I was like, that was cringe. But he did the best that he could. Rey Phoenix is one of the best high flyers in the world. When he's not botching or doing obviously fake things, he's tremendous. I think that with his athleticism, with the right push, he could be a huge star for WWE. They already started to sell the masks and the merchandise and everything. He came in like a house of fire. Impressive, but I wish they would have gave him a different opponent. And Nathan Fraser was good to show off his style, I guess. But again, why put Phoenix in there with somebody who could do the same stuff he can do? I didn't understand it. And then also with the weird botching, they almost hurt each other. Like you almost had both of these guys on the shelf at different points of the match because they're moving too fast and they're doing before they're thinking. I don't get it. So Santos Escobar sees Phoenix, is impressed, and says that's what he wants from Los Garza. Humberto Carrillo says, he ain't nothing. He's just a flying lizard. I'm better than him. Santos says, well, go out there and prove it. So Berto is going to wrestle Phoenix next. So much for that Andrade feud I heard so much about. Oh, he's going to be feuding with Andrade. When? I guess eventually he's going to feud with Andrade, huh? I guess if they have enough matches, he's eventually going to get in the ring with Andrade. In any event, hey, Humberto, I like Humberto and Angel. I'm an old school supporter of Humberto and Angel. I know that WWE is never going to try to push these guys to maximum potential, but they're good players. Humberto's English is much better than it used to be. He's a lot more confident. He looks less like a little boy than when they were pushing him before. So hopefully these guys can break loose. Now I know that they've been teasing Los Garza leaving Santos Escobar and joining Andrade, and maybe that's what Meltzer is overhearing, because they have been teasing that Andrade is going to steal Los Garza from Santos Escobar. Would have been nice to see some forward motion on that on this show instead of them doing Twitter content with it. But maybe again, that's what the tie-in for Andrade is going to be. But good debut for Phoenix. Entrance is a little much. A lot of fireworks. A lot of stuff going on. He's got a pre-mask too. I thought they changed his mask. I was about to be very upset. But instead they gave him some kind of entrance mask. So once he removes that, he had his real mask underneath. Very Rey Mysterio-ish. So they're really going for that now. And I truly believe that, I prefer Dragon Lee to Phoenix, but Phoenix can be a phenomenon if they really let him. And I thought it was very cute that Penta said that Phoenix is the best wrestler in the world. That's very cute that he would say that about his little brother. He also said that his dream match is a mask versus mask match with Phoenix. So that means he's probably willing to lose his mask to his brother too. That's pretty sweet. Drew McIntyre is wearing an eye patch. He said nobody cares about Damian Priest unless he's feeding off of his scraps. All he asked for was for Damian Priest to poke holes in his logic or to face him like a man. But Damian Priest is a vulture. And now he needs to pray. And bad things happen when Drew McIntyre prays. Damian Priest called Drew McIntyre a crybaby. I'm not interested in this feud at all. Let's move on. Braun Breaker. Oh no, that's Braun Strowman. It's too many Brauns running around here. And Solo Sikoa had an issue backstage. LA Knight showed up. Told Solo to get his boys in order and he's going to beat up Tama Tonga. And then he did. LA Knight beat Tama Tonga in a match I didn't want to watch. Why did they hire Tama Tonga again? They hired him for the Bloodline angle. And apparently that stopped dead in its tracks. So now they're stuck with this guy. They hired so many old people. A lot. I didn't even talk about them signing Rusev, did I? I guess I'll talk about it later. In any event, LA Knight wins, which was the right decision. Later, Jacob Fatu defeated Braun Strowman in the last man standing match. Those guys basically crashed through a bunch of tables. They crashed through a barricade. They fell through some of everything. They hit each other with some big power moves. And the big finish was a hip attack through a table, which was actually pretty light. I didn't like that as a finish. But Jacob wins. Now he's going to be wrestling LA Knights for the United States Championship at WrestleMania, which is cool and all. But Jacob has the kind of potential where he could have worked higher on the card. I said last week, maybe, that they could have built this thing up where he was wrestling Roman at WrestleMania. But LA Knight's a perfectly serviceable opponent. He's going to get his first championship win, I'm assuming. I don't think that LA Knight should beat him for the title. But it's not a feud either between Jacob Fatu and LA Knight, which I always prefer feuds rather than, hey, I want a number one contenders match. I want a number one contenders match. I'm the number one contender. Now let's get into this absolute train wreck of Charlotte and Tiffany Stratton. Holy be thy name. What an amazing, awkward segment. Charlotte comes out. She looks like a drag queen. Both her and Tiffany are wearing similar gear. Charlotte says that this match is charity work and that Tiffany Stratton is desperate. Tiffany Stratton says Charlotte's biggest competitor is the fans and that she'll never win that battle. And that when all is said and done, Charlotte is going to be second to her daddy. So Charlotte tries to respond to this, but Chicago don't give nan fuck about what she's saying. And the crowd is stepping all over her every word. She's not getting anything in. And she just kind of hangs out in the corner and just looks at the audience like, hey, I'm trying to talk here. Let me get out what I got to say. So Tiffany just continues saying that when Charlotte was 25, she was drunk in her daddy's basement. Now she's 25. She's the women's world champion. And that Charlotte is the world's worst Nepo baby. Charlotte then responds by saying that she is the Nepo queen. She is the number one Nepo baby. And she mocks Tiffany Stratton's voice. So then Tiffany Stratton just decides to go very, very low because the crowd is destroying Charlotte and they're not letting her talk. So then she says, your WrestleMania record is 4-3. She says, when you leave WrestleMania 41, you'll be just like you are now, alone. What's that record? 0-3? Woo! And drops the mic. And Charlotte is stunned that she just said that. So she tries to talk while Tiffany is getting out of there. She getting free. You feel me? And she's yelling about Kaiser being in her DMs. I don't think Tiffany even heard that or cared. But Charlotte is in the ring hot. Okay? She's hot. My goodness. What a segment. It was very bad and also quite awesome at the same time. Man, these two, it seems like Tiffany has learned. You know, she's very well liked backstage, apparently. You know, people think that Charlotte's going to shoot on her. Like, you got to be crazy. You know that she's friends with Nia Jax, right? If Charlotte tries that shit, Nia Jax is going to be back there like Undertaker with her fist wrapped up. It's not nothing bad's about to happen to Tiffany. If anything, she might get some heat politically for this. Because WWE doesn't even replay the 0-3 line in their social media. So that clearly came out of nowhere and blindsided the shit out of Charlotte. Amazing stuff there. This was a receipt from a couple of weeks ago when Charlotte basically steamrolled Tiffany Stratton and embarrassed her in front of the world. Now, Charlotte was asked about this in interviews, and she said basically she's just living up to her character. You know, like, people expect the best from her, so she gives the best. Like, why be less than what you expect me to be? Which actually makes sense. You know, if you're going to get in there with The Rock, you expect The Rock to be The Rock, right? So she's saying like, hey, you want to get in here with Charlotte Flair? You got to be in here with Charlotte Flair. This is what that means. The problem with that is now this thing has boomeranged and it ain't looking too good. This is like when Frieza got cut in half. Like, he can't believe it. Charlotte cannot believe what happened to her in this segment. Charlotte is incredibly unlikable. Nobody likes her. The crowd don't even respect her, really. And this thing, it got out of hand real quick. The reason Wade Barrett was in the ring was to make sure that this thing stayed on the rails, and it promptly went off the rails and stayed off them goddamn rails. And if, let's say that this is not a shoot and it's really a work, it's a pretty damn good work. It's a damn good one. Because Charlotte looks shocked by some of the stuff. Like, she mentions that Charlotte was drunk in her daddy's basement at 25, which, of course, mentioning her drinking problem. She mentioned the divorces, called her a Nepo baby, which, of course, that's kind of par for the course. She talked over Charlotte, Charlotte talked over her, too, quite a bit. She was trying to blunt some of the things that Tiffany Stratton was saying, but Tiffany just kept going anyway. It seems she really did learn from her previous segment. This is a dog-eat-dog business. And she got to be a big dog. That's how it works. Charlotte is not going to get a lot of sympathy in this segment because she is seen as a relic from a previous era. Much like Brock Lesnar, where she's so overpushed that even regardless of her talent, people are just kind of tired of her getting the spot. They're kind of tired of her being put in this position. And Tiffany Stratton is, young, she's hot, she's new, she's fresh, and people are genuinely behind her. She was turned essentially babyface by doing nothing really except, being charismatic. And people don't like Charlotte. So it's easy for the crowd to basically rug pull Charlotte. But man, I was not expecting this. I was expecting it to be bad, though. Because these two don't have any chemistry. So I expected it to be bad. I also noticed that Charlotte is very aggressive with people who contend with her at that level. She always had a very rough relationship with people like Becky. She never had that situation with Bayley, by the way. But Becky and Sasha, yeah, she always had that sort of catty relationship with them, as these are girls who are trying to be in the top spot. Tiffany also wants to be in that category and in that conversation. So in order to do that, she realizes, or somebody told her, maybe it was Gunther, maybe it was Triple H, maybe it was Kaiser, maybe it was somebody else. Somebody whispered in her ear, if you want to be the top dog in this business, you have to stop being starstruck, and you got to go out there and dig Charlotte's eyes out. And she decided to go fucking do it. And you know what? 100% respect. Even if she gets buried after this, which a lot of people think she's going to, if she gets buried after this moment still lives on forever. It'll never go away. If this ends up like the Ricky Starks situation where he went out there and, kind of it made a fool out of Edge on Collision, if it ends up the same way, then guess what? She's got a story to tell that she can sell to podcasts and all kind of stuff for the rest of her days. Because this was phenomenal for all the wrong reasons. These two do not have any chemistry in terms of personality. But Tiffany found her voice, finally. And she got Charlotte good here. Charlotte looked like a goddamn fool. Made even funnier because this is information provided by Charlotte. She literally just did an interview talking about this stuff. And boop, here it is right in her face immediately. I know she back there shaking. Oh my God. What an amazing promo. My goodness. It's it's amazing for all the wrong reasons, brother. Moving on. The Motor City Machine Guns defeated DIY to be the number one contenders for the tag team titles. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Miz and Mello got into it with Pretty Deadly. Nobody cares about that either. Naomi defeated B-Fab. Naomi had the same theme music that she had before. Interesting. I'm guessing they're going to change it. Jade attacked her before the match, and she was separated by security. The match continued anyway, and she beat B-Fab with a lung blower. We didn't really get to see much. We didn't get to see much from Naomi here because the match was actually pretty short. But afterwards, she called out Jade and challenged her, and Jade beat her up again. I mean, every interaction was just Jade beating Naomi up. This was once again separated, and Nick Aldis made the match for WrestleMania. Naomi versus Jade Cargill. Good contest. You know, this has been built up for a long time. A lot of people are saying, well, is Jade good enough to carry a singles match at WrestleMania by herself? Well, at this point, man, it's sink or swim. Also, Naomi's been in the business 10 years. If she can't carry Jade Cargill to a decent match, then it just can't be done. You know, but most people are kind of like, Naomi can't work. But the storyline is there. It's a strong personal feud. I like it. Maybe put a little stank on it. It's their first match, so maybe you don't want to go gimmick match the first match. But I like it. I like the match for WrestleMania. It's a good idea. Okie dokie. So Nick Aldis comes to the ring, invites Kevin Owens to come out. The long and the short of it is that Kevin Owens has a neck injury. He's had a neck injury for 4 months. And now he realizes that he's got to have neck surgery, so he's going to leave to do that. Therefore, he will not be wrestling Randy Orton at WrestleMania. And he leaves the ring somberly. While marching up the ramp, some fan yells something at him. He then turns around and starts getting in the fan's face. The fans, because he's a biatch, apologized. Like, look, brother, the man just told you he's got a bad neck. He got a stack of dimes called a neck. You shouldn't be too worried about him right now. So Kevin Owens will not be participating at WrestleMania, which, hey, he's still walking around, so I don't feel bad by saying I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad he won't be there. I mean, the damage is already done. He's been wrestling almost 30 years. You know, a lot of indie wrestling fans are mourning this. They're weeping all over their keyboards. Oh my God, Kevin Owens, one of the best to ever do it. They're fantasy booking how to just replace him with Sami Zayn or replace him with other people. I do think that they missed an opportunity here to have Randy Orton take him out. I mean, he's already been working with this bad. Again, he said he had a bad neck for 4 months. This means he had a bad neck when he wrestled at the Royal Rumble, and he was taking all these crazy bumps. He was taking a bunch of crazy bumps at Elimination Chamber. Randy Orton can kick him in the head. Why not have Randy Orton kick him in the head to pay off that angle? I mean, I don't know, man. It seems to me that Randy could have worked that in a way, even if you had to do a backstage thing, similar to how Randy had to attack the legends. You know, when he attacked Christian and all of them, and he had the Splinter Cell goggles. Like, if he did that to, you know, say, like, there's no getting away from this. Oh, you won't wrestle me in a match? Okay. I'll catch you while you go into your car, and I'll kick you in the fucking head in the parking lot. Like, that's the kind of Randy Orton that we grew up watching. That's the Randy Orton we would like to see. But 2025 Randy Orton is massive and bulky and somewhat kind. And I don't understand why he's a gentle giant now. It has to be because Triple H just wants to protect Kevin Owens. Again, overprotecting his favorites. The story dictates that Randy Orton should get that satisfaction of he is the reason why Kevin Owens can't wrestle anymore. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't even told anybody that Kevin Owens needed neck surgery until after Randy Orton kicked him in the head. I mean, yes, it makes Randy Orton look like a heel if he would have attacked Kevin Owens and kicked him in the head after he basically said he needed neck surgery. But you need a top heel now anyway. So, boom, there it is. I mean, and then they had Randy Orton give Nick Aldis an RKO, which of course now has people believing that Randy's going to feud with Nick Aldis going into WrestleMania. Instead of, well, Randy's probably just going to get suspended. Therefore, he's not going to have a match at WrestleMania at all, and they're going to replace him with somebody else. Or they may do what Vince McMahon did, which is Nick Aldis is going to handpick Randy Orton's opponent, and that could be a good spot for a Rusev or an Aleister Black. That would be very cool. You know, if Aleister Black was to make a return against Randy Orton at WrestleMania 41, that's money. If Rusev was to make a return against Randy Orton at WrestleMania 40, that would be money. Of course, they would have to win that match, though, in order for it to be an appropriate punishment for what he did to Nick Aldis. And also to make sure that their careers can, start at a high level. And plus, Randy doesn't want to take a bunch of bumps and work a 35-minute match. Just go in there and do something for 10, 15 minutes and call it a day. Everybody in the match is going to be like 40 some odd years old and not interested in working some Kings Road bullshit style. They're going to go in there, do, especially if it's Aleister Black, do as little bumping as possible. Black Mass or RKO, 1, 2, 3, call it a day. It's that simple. Don't overthink this thing. That's how I would do it personally. I would have had Kevin Owens get kicked in the head. Nick Aldis got in Randy's face about it. Randy gives him an RKO. Nick Aldis the very next week says, Randy, you're out of control. And I should fire you. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you in a match at WrestleMania. You're going to get your WrestleMania match. But it's going to be against a hand-picked opponent. And then you bring somebody back who's ready to return. And you have them kick the shit out of Randy. And Nick Aldis remains the babyface. Randy Orton was the heel. He got his shit kicked in. He could either continue that feud or write Randy off TV for a while, however you choose to do it, and just go on from there. But you don't have a lot of time. So, and I don't see them saying that Nick Aldis is going to wrestle. I don't know about that. Nick Aldis wrestling, it sounds good on paper, but I'm not sure it's a good thing in action. That's Smackdown in a nutshell. So I want to talk about something real quick, because Smackdown, as a show, there was a lot to talk about. The Favor, Tiffany Stratton going off on Charlotte, as unprofessional as that was. And then, Kevin Owens' hopeful retirement. But I saw during this episode an extremely long Triple H vignette about his Hall of Fame career. And then I just realized that we have only been seeing Triple H vignettes for his Hall of Fame career. How many people are they putting in the Hall of Fame? 4 or 5, right? There's Lex Luger. There's Natural Disasters. And you're not seeing vignettes for those people at all. I haven't seen a Natural Disasters vignette yet. I saw the announcement. Like, the announcement for Luger and the announcement for the Natural Disasters are the best that we've gotten. But for Triple H, we constantly get new vignettes. It's like they were just made yesterday. Talking about how great he is and how great his career is. I'm like, what the hell? Is this Hall of Fame all about Triple H? Is he giving himself the Stone Cold Steve Austin treatment? He's giving himself the Hulk Hogan treatment. He's giving himself the Ultimate Warrior treatment, the Randy Macho Man Savage treatment. This guy is really putting himself over. It's the HHHHOF. That's what this is. The Hunter Hearst Helmsley Hall of Fame. This is absolutely absurd. I mean, again, yes, you want to hype up the main attraction, but there's other people there too. Unless Triple H is delusional enough to think that he's some kind of huge draw and that he's going to sell out the Hall of Fame by himself, which I can tell you is not going to happen. They better start talking about the other people who are going to be in the Hall of Fame as well. And I heard they're not even done announcing names. Apparently it's just real slow about doing it. But there's supposed to be some other people going into the Hall of Fame as well. I heard. I don't know for sure, but I heard. But I'm looking at this thing and saying to myself, I'm so tired of Triple H vignettes. I'm tired of looking at him. Stop this. He wasn't that damn great. Okay? Hall of Fame worthy, yeah, sure. But they got all these vignettes like we're putting goddamn Harley Race and Ric Flair in the Hall of Fame again. Stop this. Okay, so let's close out on the new signing. Apparently, Rusev has signed with WWE, and they said he should be back by the end of the year. So that means between now and December, he's going to show up. I would imagine it's going to be sooner rather than later. There's been a lot of questions about whether this is a good signing or not, about whether it really even matters or not. My only issue here is the same issue I have been discussing for a while, and that is Triple H continuously bringing in people who are old. Rusev is in his late 30s, and so is Malachi Black. And both of them are going to be coming in. Brother, the roster for WWE got old really fast. As soon as Triple H took over, he just immediately started bringing in old people. Like, immediately, from LA Knight to the Motor City Machine Guns to Braun Strowman to Nia Jax, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa. Now, bringing back Rusev, Aleister Black. The age of the roster just went through the roof. Now, people have said to me before, Mongo, why do you care about that? You mention that all the time. Because you have an entire product where you're preparing people for these spots. So, how long are people going to stay in NXT? That's my question. Like, if you're going to have these guys wrestling forever, 45-year-old Alex Shelley out there, then how long are you going to keep certain people in NXT? Because you can't call them up. You just signed this 20-year vet who is not over, by the way. How long are you going to give him to get over? And then that's just time that the other kid got to stay in NXT. What is the purpose of bringing all of them in? And they're constantly signing new talent. Constantly bringing new people in for tryouts and stuff. And then you're bringing in old talent. For what? Now look, I fully am on board with bringing back Rusev, Aleister Black, and Andrade. These were three guys that Vince should have never fired in the first place, even though I think Andrade and Rusev mostly asked for it. Rusev pretty much begged for it, and Andrade did too. They both wanted out of WWE. Aleister Black, not so much. He was just finding his footing. But at least those two other guys wanted out anyway. Now, but they brought in all these other guys too. So it's like now you have no room. And you have people like Wes Lee who've been in NXT for 6 years. Somebody like Nathan Fraser has been in NXT forever. This is one thing that the Brit Bong wrestling fans noted that did give me like cause to think. There have been people like Noam Dar and people like Tyler Bate that have been under WWE contracts since they were under 25 years old. I think they signed these guys when they were like 19, 20, 22 or something like that. These guys still aren't even 30 yet. And they have not done anything on the main roster of WWE. You had these guys on this roster for 6 or 7 years. To do what? To do what, really? It's like you're not going to give them a chance. You're not going to try to, move them up the roster at all. And look, before we even start talking about, and that's before we even start talking about the race thing, because the race question pops up eventually, when they start talking, hey, is Obafemi or Trick Williams going to get a proper shot here? That's my only issue with bringing in Aleister Black and Rusev and guys like this, is that the only thing that's keeping those guys in NXT is the fact that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and all these guys are hanging around forever. And there's no motion in trying to get these people out of the way. That's the one thing. I do it every week, so I'm going to do it. I haven't done it yet. But that's what we saw with Vince. He's trying to push a lot of the older talent to the side, put them in tag teams, put them in part-time or something like that, and let's get the roster younger. You know, new faces, new places, you feel different. But what Triple H did, he basically just breathed life into the people who are already there. Which is fine, because you see a new coat of paint on some of the people you've been watching for a while. And you're going to see a new coat of paint on Rusev and Aleister Black and all these guys. At the same time, though, there's a ton of talent in NXT that we're probably not going to get to see because Triple H is constantly signing old talent. Now, Rusev himself is a good talent. If he's going to do the Redeemer gimmick, I am 100% in favor of that. If he's going to, hopefully he's not going to be like regular Rusev. And hopefully he doesn't try to, rebrand Rusev Day. That would be dumb. But I like Rusev as a character. I like him as a performer. I think he can work as a main event guy even. If you were to bring him in. He could have some real bangers with guys like Cody. He could have bangers with Gunther. He could really kick some ass in there. As a big physical force, I like Rusev. The issue is going to be, are they going to be consistent in pushing him, and are they going to be consistent on his creative? Because as we've seen with Andrade, they're not always consistent. So I like Rusev. I don't have a problem with him coming back, but I do think that Triple H needs to trim a lot of these old guys off the roster. DIY and the Motor City Machine Guns are having matches and they're not over. I mean, these guys have been on TV for a while now, and there was a clip where, they were talking about the transition period when Vince was getting ousted and Triple H was taking over. And one of the first things Triple H did was get Tommaso Ciampa out of that storyline he was in with The Miz, which I completely forgot about. But I think he was tag team partners with The Miz or something. And he went through some elaborate lengths to get Tommaso Ciampa out of that story. And everybody was like, yeah, man, he was saving all his buddies. Okay, is Tommaso Ciampa better now than when he was teaming with The Miz? He's probably less over now, I would imagine, right? Nobody gives a shit when DIY theme music plays. Nobody cares. And people are mocking Carmelo Hayes for being partners with The Miz when you have so much evidence that working with The Miz gets you over. Either being his rival or being a partner. Working with The Miz gets you over. I mean, he's a common denominator for people like Danielson, Sandow, the B Team, Alex Riley, just over and over again. Working with The Miz will get you over. But people, they hate The Miz. But a lot of the people I'm talking about, they hate The Miz because he's not, the best in-ring mechanic of all time. I don't like the Mellow Don't Miz thing because Miz is not a favorite of Triple H. So it's not like The Miz gets a lot of TV time. A couple of years ago, maybe this would be different because The Miz would have gotten a lot of TV time. He doesn't get a lot of TV time now. So basically you change Carmelo to a guy you barely use. And I think Carmelo is strong enough as a character to carry his own weight. That's a skill issue. It's a creative issue. And the creative needs to improve. The creative has to broaden beyond a lot of the guys who've been there for a long time. That's a key issue here. Is when you look at WWE at the top. Roman Reigns on the top in 2015. He's still at the top in 2020, and he's still at the top in 2025. Seth Rollins, at the top in 2015, at the top in 2020, at the top in 2025. Kevin Owens, same thing. Sami Zayn, same thing. Drew McIntyre, with the exception of the short time that he wasn't even in the company, same thing. I mean, Cody and Punk, they don't really count. They were gone for most of that time. But you talk about people who've been at the top for a long. Randy Orton has been there since 2005. I'm not saying, fire Randy Orton and Roman Reigns. I'm saying is, at some point, we have to start getting younger people in the rotation. Otherwise, what is the point of having NXT? What is the point in signing younger talent? Or of even trying to sign younger talent? And this is what the one thing that the AEW fans are starting to gloat about, is that some of the talent, basically just one, that they managed to swipe from WWE. It was a very young guy. He's only 28, Kevin Knight. Meanwhile, WWE is bringing in more 40-year-olds. These guys with serious back injuries. Rusev has had neck surgery already. Aleister Black has serious back problems. And you're bringing these guys in for a fresh new run. Why? You don't have anybody on NXT that you can use to bring up, to do stuff with? Sure you do. Then why aren't we doing stuff with them? Why are we wasting our time with the Motor City Machine Guns when you got the Creed brothers waiting for an opportunity to do something, who need more TV time and need to push? Why are you wasting your time with them? They're not over. And they're not getting over. It's not like, hey, if they have one more good match, they'll be over all of a sudden. No. Even if the Creed brothers can't get over, even if they struggle to get over, my God, they're younger. They have more time. These guys, if you can't get them over in a second, shit, you're just wasting 20 minutes, which is pretty much every Motor City Machine Guns match since they got brought into the company. And Kevin Owens really opened that floodgate to me, because I realized he'd been there for so long. The only way to displace him from the roster, to get him the fuck out of the way, has been injury. That's the only way to get him out of here. Because Triple H plays favorites, loves the fucking guy, and was keeping him near the top of the card. Now, it just so happens that I don't like Kevin Owens, which is why I mentioned people that I do like, who have been around for a long time. Because I'm trying to make a point here, not just to bash Kevin Owens. If I wanted to bash Kevin Owens, I just talk about how fat he is. Alright? I just call him Bam Bam Owens, Potbelly Owens, Tugboat Owens, Natural Disaster Owens, Monsoon Owens, Kevin Monsoon. But I don't want to. Because, I mean, it sucks that he needs neck surgery. But my God, is that what it took to get him out of the way? I'm just talking to you. For me, your football team is old. Your football team is not going to do very well. You can only coast on past gained star power for so long. You can only bring in star free agents for so many times. You got to eventually build a solid roster, build a solid team. What is the purpose of Evolve and NXT if you're not ever going to give those people a chance? Or if you're only going to bring them on TV to do jobs like Nathan Fraser and Carmelo Hayes? What the fuck is the point? What are they working so hard for in NXT? Just to get called up and be a jabroni like Axiom? Come on, man. You got to do better than this. You got to have some kind of lane for growth. I'm not seeing that right now. I'm not seeing that there's a lane for young talent to progress and grow. The mid-card titles are clogged up with 40-year-old guys. Like, that's the crazy thing, especially on Smackdown. Everybody in that title picture is in there. Well, not Jacob Fatu. He's like 31 or something, 32. But Braun Strowman, LA Knight, Santos Escobar, all these guys are old. Now, old doesn't mean bad, but what it means is your mid-card guys, at least some of them, should be your next up guys. I don't think LA Knight is a next up guy. All right? I don't think so. I don't think Braun Strowman's a next up guy. I don't think Sheamus is going to be a guy that's going to be one of your next top stars. Some of these guys are faded stars, and you're putting them in the mid-card. You got to really think that. There needs to be a lane for younger talent to improve, to grow, and to be able to contribute on the roster. When we digging into the crates and doing storylines from 2013, which is what they're doing with Punk and Heyman, Jesus Christ, I mean, that's nice. But it would be also nice if we could feature newer talent. And this is what makes, the Jade Cargill thing somewhat interesting to me. Because Jade's only been around a couple of years. And they're finally creating a lane for her to do something. I'm fine with that. The same thing with Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton is doing what she can do with Charlotte. She's doing the best. She's one of the few young people who's getting a chance. So she got to make the most of it. And shooting on Charlotte is probably not good for your career. And it's very unprofessional. But you're one of the young people just getting a chance. Make the most of it. Take the risk. It's better than just letting Charlotte kick you around and then everybody lose interest in you. So, but let me know what you guys think. Tell me what you thought in the comment section below. Again, thanks everybody for all the birthday wishes and those of you who chose to give. I appreciate it very much. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.